Well, I would never say it's 100% safe. I think there have been some opportunities to improve it from the earlier days, and I think that there are some a little more sophisticated watchdogs in the Northeast than maybe there are in the Southwest, but in Wyoming and Colorado. But it's hard to tell because that's where most of the drilling has been, and I certainly have a file of 50 or 75 different incidents. I kind of like listening to what the people say, even though I know that's not scientific, and there's always the chance that for some reason they're not telling the truth. But I find them, like the three cases that I spoke of or quoted earlier. I don't know what reason they would have not to be telling the truth. I've seen people, like I was at EPIC in Ithaca a couple weeks ago, and a guy who looked like he was dying and said he was dying, and he seemed to think that a lot of it had to do with nervous problems and all kinds of illnesses related to wells drilled near him, but I don't know that that's true. So most of my experience is anecdotal, but there is an awful lot of anecdotal evidence out there.
Thank you. Dr. Klein, Scott? Is high volume hydrofrac drilling 100% safe?
Of course it's not 100% safe, no industrial process is. The question is it safe enough? And are we striking a balance with the current state of technology and using the regulations to make those incidents rare or infrequent? And I believe we can do that. I'm quite confident that when we use best practices, we're going to have very infrequent problems here in New York, especially in the methane migration. As I mentioned, that is not new. We have had regulations to run intermediate casing and have cement to the surface with no annular pressure buildup allowed. Pennsylvania, I disagree with Tony on that. Intermediate casing has been traditionally a very rare thing. And when it is run, as I showed you in my diagram, it was not run with cement to the surface. Pressure was allowed to build up, broke down the surface casing. Now it's routine in that particular area of Pennsylvania, which is unusual. They're running intermediate casing with cement to the surface, and I think you've noticed that the incidence of any methane has essentially gone away. I'm not concerned about that. In New York, we've been drilling wells here. We've had only one methane migration problem reported in the last 30 years. There's no difference in the methane migration prevention in a vertical well versus a horizontal well, and I don't anticipate that's going to be a problem. I would not hesitate to have a Marcellus well on my land with the proper setbacks, and that's my short answer.
Thank you.
Of course, I agree with previous speakers that there's no such thing as 100% safe. No competent engineer or scientist would ever say something is 100% safe. The question is, to what degree will you accept unsafety? We're talking